Shalom, shalom, and welcome. The title of today's class, When Does the New Moon Begin Its Cycle? When does the new moon begin its cycle? We open in Matthew 5 and verse 17 through 19. Matthew 5 verse 17 through 19, because there's many individuals that's playing with the word of God, or playing semantics with the word of God and manipulating the days to facilitate their own agendas. Matthew 5:17, Moses is going to send understanding and clarity as to when the new moon cycle begins, because from the new moon cycle, every high holiday has to be counted. So you better get it right. If you don't have it right, you're off. You're going to be off all your high holidays. So Matthew 5:17, Christ's words in red. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. Christ says, I am not come to destroy God's laws or whatever the prophet says about God's laws. Because the prophet was preaching what? God's laws. Christ said, I am not destroying nothing from the law. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law till all be fulfilled. Heaven and earth is still here. You see what? Not a jot or comma or period in coming out of the law. Till what? The end of this kingdom is done. Till I come and destroy this kingdom. That Christ says, so God's laws is here forever. So don't get in your head that I come to destroy it. I come to fulfill what was written about me. When you read Acts 3:18, it's talking about the things that the prophets prophesied about Christ. He will be crucified, etc. That's where he came and fulfilled. But don't even think a period will come out of God's law. You're going to pay for it. Verse 19, whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments, and shall teach men so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But whosoever shall do and teach them, whosoever shall do what? Do the law and the commandments. This is the law that Christ said I didn't come to destroy. So the man who's going to do them law and commandments shall be called great. Sorry, but whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. That man who's going to do God's laws and commandments and teach God's laws and commandments shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. Because he's going to what? He's going to obtain immortality. He's going to be rewarded with high profile and high positions in the kingdom of heaven if you stand stiffly for God's laws. I want to open with reading what? The Reader's Digest. This is the Reader's Digest. The Reader's Digest through Indian eyes. The untold story of native peoples. The untold story of native people. This book covers all the natives throughout North, South, and Central America. Identifying who these people are. There's a lot of nuggets inside here. There's a lot these people know that they're not telling you. But you have to read. You have to spend and read and research. I'll read from page 82. This is talking about the Anasazi nation. They were the Navajos. Let me just go back a couple of pages and show you. Yeah, they were the Navajo. They make up the Anasazi nation. They make up what? The Rio Grande Pueblos, the Mescalera Apache, the Western Pueblos, the Navajo Indians. All these, that's who they are. That was called the Anasazi. Jicarilla Apache. Native population of Southwest, of the Southwest region. Both included two major Pueblo groups. Both is descended from the 13th century Anasazi. That's who they are from. So this is what is written. This is what is in their tradition. To plan their farming and ceremonial cycles, the Anasazi watch the skies. Did we do it on islands? Yes, we did. I see my parents and my grandparents doing it. When they were to plant the corn in the backyard and the sorrel and the cassava, they just go by the sky. What are they watching in the sky? Each month began with a crescent moon. So the month began with a what? A crescent moon. Did it say the month began with a full moon? No, it said each month began with the crescent moon. And the days to the next new moon were recorded by cutting notches into sticks. So the day to the next what? Crescent moon. We see that? So the new moon began with what? Crescent moon. Or the month and the moon began with a crescent, not a full. And they began by cutting notches in sticks, meaning what? They started counting from crescent. Waxing crescent to full to waning crescent. They carved symbols on these calendar sticks indicated the dates of rituals. Even today, the Zuni of New Mexico use a similar system, observing the sun's progress and the phases of the moon to determine the date of their late autumn Shalako festival. So it's still in existence and in use today, to date. So they know something. This is in their tradition. We're going to read the definition of crescent, because you see each month began with a crescent moon. The definition of crescent according to Merriam-Webster's dictionary. Crescent is a noun. The moon at any stage between new moon and first quarter. You see that? The definition in the dictionary is what? Crescent. The moon at any stage between new moon and first quarter. So dark moon to first quarter. Dark when it starts to crescent, a light. Crescent appear. From new moon, between new moon and first quarter, and between the last quarter and the succeeding new moon. See that? So the moon at any stage between new moon and first quarter, and between the last quarter and the succeeding new moon. See that? So between last quarter to darkness, and between darkness to first quarter. That's the new moon, or the crescent moon. When less than half of the illuminated hemisphere is visible. You see that? Less than half. So that means what? New moon. So less than half, darkness, crescent, wavering. Crescent waxing. Crescent waxing. The adjective. Marked by an increase, increasing. So it's going to be marked by what? An increase, and increasing. So that's the crescent. Marked by increase and increasing. So from darkness it increases to light, and increasing brighter to get to full. So how could the one begin in a full moon? How could a full moon be a new moon? Impossible. The adjective. This is going into what? History and etymology. It's an adjective when you go down the page. History and etymology, adjective. Borrowed from crescent. So that crescent, C-R-E-S-C-E-N-T, is borrowed from crescent with a tilde, / crescens, C-R-E-S-C-E-N-S, present participle of crescere. It means what? To come into existence. You see that? It means to come into existence. To increase in size or numbers. So that's where the definition crescent come from. To come into existence or to increase in size or numbers. So the new moon is darkness, and it increases into a crescent moon and increases into full moon. So waxing. We read the book of First Enoch. They tell you don't read this book. You better get it and read it. The book of First Enoch. We read chapter 73 and verse 1 through 8. The book of First Enoch, chapter 73, verse 1 through 8. And after this law, I saw another law dealing with the smaller luminary, which is named the moon. This is Enoch. And her orbit is like the sphere, orbit, disk of heaven. And her chariot in which she rides is driven by the wind, and light is given to her in measure. And her rising and setting change every month, and her days are like the days of the sun. So the moon is going to rise, is going to run parallel like the days of the sun. It's the same like, and rising. You didn't see it? And rising like the days of the sun. And when the light is uniformly complete, full. When the light is what? Uniformly complete. So when it is completely full, it amounts to the 7th part of the light of the sun. So when the moon is what? Completely full. So it's a full moon. So it comes from what? New to full. Rising. And thus she rises. And her first phase in the east comes out on the 30th morning, and on that day she becomes visible. So the first phase is what? When the moon becomes what? Visible. And constitutes for you the first phase of the moon on the 30th day. Together with the sun in the door where the sun rises. So the first phase of the moon is when she becomes visible. And the 1/2 of her goes out by a 7th part, and the whole disk is empty. And the whole disk is what? Empty. So on the 30th day, the whole disk of the moon is what? Empty or dark. dark, 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 without light, with the exception of 1/7 part of it, and the 14 part of a light. You see that? So it's just a crescent they're talking about. And when she is this waxing crescent and waning crescent, and when she receives 1/7 part of the half of a light, you see that? When she received 1/7 part of the half of a light, her light amounts to 1/7 part and a half thereof. And she sets with the sun, and when the sun rises, the moon rises with him, and receives the half of 1 part of light. And in that night, in the beginning of a morning, in the beginning of the lunar day, the moon sets with the sun and is invisible that night with the 14th part and the half of one of them. So it's talking about, it's going to a little intricacies here. It's talking about how the parallelism between the moon and the sun. But this is the part that you want to get here. And when she rises on that day with exactly a 7 part, and comes out and receives from the sun, the rising of the sun, and in the remaining days she becomes bright in the remaining 13 parts. You see that? So from the first part, the light peeps. And in the remaining days of the month, she becomes what? Bright in the remaining 13 parts. So it's 14 parts, 14 days it's talking about cycle. So it's giving you a whole breakdown here. This is going into some serious stuff here. Very knowledgeable and edifying. Let me show you, let me jump to what, get to the thick of it. Chapter 78 and verse, well, I'll read from verse 1. And the names of the son of the fall, jump to verse 3. Verse 6. And when the moon rises, 1/14 part appears in heaven. So when the moon rises, 1/14 part of its heaven. So it's when the moon rises, 1/14 part appears. So that's the first sliver, or the crescent, waxing crescent. 1/14 part appears in heaven. And on the 14th day, the moon's light becomes full. You see that? So from the new moon to the 14th day of the month, the moon becomes what? Full. So mid-month. And 15 parts of light are transferred to her until the 15th day, when her light is full. You see, so the 15 days when it's completely full. So 14-day cycle, the 15-day cycle, and then what's going to happen after the 15th day of the month? When her light is full, you see that? So the middle of the month is when the moon is full. So the new moon is not the middle of the month, or full light. The new moon is not full light, according to the sign of the year, and she becomes 15 parts, and the moon grows by an additional 14 parts. So it continues by an additional 14 parts after the 15th day. Let's see what that is. Verse 8. And as the moon's waning, you see that? And as the moon's waning decreases on the first day to 14 parts of a light. So when it comes to 14 days of waxing, the 15th day, it goes back to 14 days down, cycle waning to darkness again. It starts to head back to darkness 14 days to get back to what? And as the moon waning decreases on the first day to 14 parts of a light, you see? So 1 to 14, then the 15th is fully full light, and then we go back again 1 to 14, back to darkness. So the first day it starts going down to 14 parts of a light, and as the moon's waning decreases on the first day to 14 parts of a light on the first day, on the second day to 13 parts of a light is waning to 13 parts of a light, and on the third day to 12 parts of a light, on the fourth to 11, on the fifth to 10, on the sixth to 9, on the seventh to 8, on the 8th to 7, and on the 9th to 6. Sorry, on the 8th to 7, on the 9th to 6, on the 10th to 5, on the 11th to 4. So the 11th day to 4 parts of his light, and on the 12th day to 3 parts of his light, on the 13th day to 2 parts of his light, and on the 14th day to the half of a 7th part. And all the remaining light disappears wholly on the 15th day. You see that? So on the 15th day waning cycle goes to what? Darkness. Disappears. Disappears. Back to what? New. Jump to verse 11. During all the period during which the moon is growing in her light, which what? Waxing, she is transferring it to herself when opposite to the sun. During 14 days, her light is full in heaven. You see that? So from darkness to 14 days, the light is full. So full moon becomes in the middle of the month, mid-month on 14 days. And when she is ablaze throughout, when she's what? Ablaze, fully lit, her light is full in heaven. You see that? So when the moon is fully lit, is what? Full moon. This is the book of Enoch. That's what they tend to don't read. Because they want to keep you in darkness. When she is ablaze throughout, her light is full in heaven. That's full moon, not the new moon. And on the first day, she is called the new moon. So the first day of the month, she is called what? The new moon, which is the flicker of light, or the crescent, waxing crescent. And on the first day, she is called the new moon. For on that day, the light rises on her. You see that? So the first day of the month is when the moon is called what? New moon. When the light does what? Rises from what? Darkness. How could it rise from full? Impossible. You're insane. Verse 13. She becomes full. She becomes full moon exactly on the day when the sun sets in the west. And from the east she rises at night, and the moon shines the whole night through until the sun rises over against her, and the moon is seen over against the sun. Verse 14. On the side whence the light of the moon comes out, there again she wanes until all the light vanishes. You see that? So from full moon, she wanes again for another 14 days until all the light what? Vanishes. And all the days of the month are at an end. So it's going parallel to the month. When the month starts, darkness, and it comes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to 14, 15, and then come God. So 16 going to be back, 14 going backwards. 16 will be 14, 17 will be 13, 18 will be 12, etc. Going right back to the end of the month, to 30. So it's 30-day cycles. On the side whence the light of the moon comes out, there again she wanes until the light vanishes, and all the days of the month are at an end. And her sphere, this is empty, void of light. So at the end of the month, the moon is what? Void of light. So how could the moon, the full moon be the beginning of the month? You are insane. You need to repent. Read Numbers chapter 10 and verse 10. Numbers 10 and 10. Numbers chapter 10, verse 10. Also in the day of your gladness, and in your solemn days, and in the beginnings of your months, you shall blow with the trumpets over your burnt offering. So the beginning of your months, or your dark disk, that's what you say, or when the sliver of light comes, the first sliver, or your first day, beginning of your month, it's not the beginning, or your crescent moon, or your sliver appears, blow with the trumpets. Read Psalms 81 and verse 3. Psalms 81 and verse 3. Psalms 81 and verse 3. Blow out the trumpets in the new moon. You see the beginning of your months. In the time appointed and on your solemn feast days. Read 1 Samuel chapter 20 verse 5. 1 Samuel chapter 20 and verse 5. 1 Samuel 20 and 5. And David said unto Jonathan, behold, tomorrow is the new moon, or the second day of the month, from the dark to the crescent, and I should not fail to sit with the king at meat. But let me go, that I may hide myself in the field until the third day at evening. You see that? So the beginning of the month, David telling Jonathan, let me go and hide, because Saul was trying to put him to death. So David hid, jump to verse 24. I read verse 24 to 27. So David hid himself in the field when the new moon was come. The king sat down to eat meat. So Saul sat down and said what? And he said what? And the king sat upon his seat, as at other times, even upon a seat by the wall. And Jonathan arose, and Abner sat by Saul's side. And David's place was empty. So David wasn't there, obviously, because he was running for his life from Saul. Saul trying to put him to death to the javelin. Nevertheless, Saul spake not anything that day. For he thought, something had befallen him. He is not clean. Surely he is not clean. You see that delusion the Most High put on him? That evil in his spirit? That evil angel, evil, the Most High, he saying what? David ain't clean, he in the midst of sin. And you trying to kill him and he running for his life. And you're saying he in the midst of sin, surely. And it came to pass on the morrow, which was the second day of the month. You see that? So the day after is the second day of the month, that David's place was empty. So he can come to feast again the second day of the month. And Saul said unto Jonathan his son, wherefore cometh not the son of Jesse to meet? Neither yesterday nor today. So the first day of the month, neither the second day of the month. Jump to Sirach 43 and verse 1. Read Sirach 43. I read from verse 1 through 7. Sirach, this is what they use to change the moon. Sirach 43 and verse 1. The pride of the height, the clear firmament, the beauty of heaven with his glorious show. The sun, when it appeareth. The sun, when it what? When the sun appeareth. When does the sun appear? From overnight darkness, and it peeps in the morning. You see that? So with the moon, it does what? Appear the same way. That's what we just read in the book of Enoch. That's what we just read in the book of the Reader's Digest, Trinity and Ice. It's talking about the crescent beginning, and the definitions, crescent begin. The sun, when it what? Appeareth, or new. When it is new. In the morning, when it peep. Declaring that his rising. Declaring that what? His rising. Or crescent. A marvelous instrument, the work of the Most High. Verse 3. At noon It parted the country. You see, at noon it's what? Full ablaze. It's full light or full ablaze. It parts the country. So the moon is going to be at full light is what? Full moon. Not a new moon. And who can abide the burning heat thereof? A man blowing a furnace is in works of heat, but the sun burneth the mountains 3 times more, breathing out fiery vapors and sending forth bright beams. It dimmeth the eye. So you see what? Nobody could look at the sun. Jump to verse 6. He made them great. Sorry, I'm continuing. Great is the Lord, verse 5, that made it, and at his commandment it runneth hastily. So it goes a cycle. He made the moon also to serve in his season for a declaration of times and a sign of the world. Verse 7. From the moon is the sign of feast. So your feasts are being counted from the moon. So if you don't get it right, you're off. A light that decreaseth in a perfection. So when the light is full, it decreaseth in a perfection. So it's waning. So how could the full moon be a new moon? The new moon begins the month. A light that what? Decreaseth in her perfection. It decreased from perfection. So it rises from darkness to full light, which is full moon, and then decreaseth, the light decreaseth from her perfection. It runs the same parallel to the sun, the same thing. Parallel to the month. The month is called after her name. Sorry, that's verse 7. Read Sirach 39 and verse 12. Sirach 39 and verse 12. So it's a light that decreaseth in her perfection. Sirach 39 and verse 12. Yet have I more to say, which I have thought upon, for I am filled as the moon at the full. But he is filled as the moon at the full. So when the moon is full, is what? Full moon. Yes, thus said the Lord. That's the wisest man on earth. He said what? He's filled as the moon at the full. So full moon is when the moon is fully bright. Thus said the Lord. In the Lord's scriptures. Go back to Sirach 43 and verse 8. The month is called after her name. So the month parallels the moon. Increasing wonderfully interchanging. You see that? So as the month increases, the moon what? Increases from what? Darkness to light or perfection. To perfection to full. The month is called after her name. Increasing wonderfully interchanging. So the cycle of what? Increase from dark or crescent to full bright. Being an instrument of the armies above, shining in the firmament of heaven. So from darkness it increases to what? Full shining. And then it decreases, according to verse 7, it decreases in imperfection from full moon to dark, back to new moon. Read Colossians 2 and 8. Colossians chapter 2 and verse 8. Beware, lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the tradition of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after Christ. So Paul is saying, beware, pay attention, lest any what? Man. Some man is going to what? Spoil you through what? Philosophy. They're philosophizing on God's words. Their own thoughts. They're adding their own thoughts or feelings, I think, to God's words. So Paul said, beware, they are going to come. And vain deceit. They're deceivers. They're deceiving you. After the tradition of men. Their own tradition. They're going to put their own spin to the moon. And not after the rudiments of the world. You see, after the devil. And not after Christ. You see that? They're not saying, thus said the Lord. Where did I go and find it? Right in the scriptures. All praises to the Most High for the guidance and the revelation in the scriptures. Read Matthew 24 and verse 4. Matthew chapter 24, verse 4. I read 24, verse 4 to 4 and 5. Matthew 24, 4 and 5. And Jesus answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. Did Paul say the same thing in Colossians 2 and 8? Beware, yes, lest any man deceive you. The same thing Christ said what? Take heed that no man deceive you. Beware, because they are going to be deceivers on the earth. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. He said, many men going to come saying, I am teaching Christ. And they're going to deceive many, will catch plenty early. So beware, beware. Jump to verse 11 and read verse 11. Verse 11. And many false prophets shall arise and shall deceive many. Christ said, many false prophets are going to arise and shall deceive. Did he say might? Shall deceive many. They're going to have many following them. Chapter verse 24. For there shall arise false Christs, plural, and false prophets, plural, and shall show great signs and wonders. They're going to show great signs and wonders. They're doing all kind of marvelous work. But Christ said, beware, there are still false Christs and false prophets. Insomuch that if, Christ said what? If they're going to be so powerful and persuasive that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Christ said, if it were possible, they would have deceived the elect. But it is not possible for them to deceive my elect. That's what Christ is saying. The elect will what? see through the lies, see through the fallacies, and I will reveal the true mysteries in this book through the elect, to the elect. That's what Christ is saying. If it were possible, they would deceive them. But guess what? They can't deceive the elect. Sirach chapter 42 and verse 15. Sirach chapter 42, and we read 15 to 20. Sirach 42, 15 to 20. Sirach 42 and 15. Sirach 42, 15. I will now remember the works of the Lord, and declare the things that I have seen. In the words of the Lord are his works. The sun that giveth light looketh upon all things, and the work thereof is full of the glory of the Lord. The Lord hath not given power to the saints to declare all his marvelous works, which the Almighty Lord firmly settled. And whatsoever is might be established by his glory. So God saying, give no power to nobody to declare my might or my works. I declare them myself. He seeketh out the deep and the heart, and consider their crafty devices. He said that the most I say, I know all with the planning, all the plotting, their crafty devices. I seek it out, and I know. For the Lord knoweth all that may be known. You see that? He know all that who's going to do what, when they're going to do it, and guess what? He's going to shut it down. And he beholdeth the signs of the world. He declareth the things that are past and for to come, and revealeth the steps of hidden things. So the Most High is revealing what steps are hidden things to who? The elect. The elect is going to show them all the crafty devices and all the snares and traps that set. No thought escapeth him, neither any word is hidden from him. So no crafty counsel is going to escape the Most High. He's going to shut it down. He's going to send his prophets to what? Shut it and rebuke it down, according to his word. Thus said the Lord. So when does the new moon begin? From dark moon, and it crescent, and it waxes to full moon, full light, which is full moon, and then wanes, another cycle, 14-day cycle, to wane to back to new moon, or dark moon. Thus said the Lord. I pray you get some understanding, and beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit. Beware. Shalom.